Greetings, friends. The revolving door of Sons of UCF Live host continues. I am Adam. This week, we have the co-host and the star of the Sons of UCF podcast making his first appearance since September. UCF Mike is back with us. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no problem. And the guy who writes the best articles on the Sons of UCF.com, whose name is not Dolly Drama. His name is Brian W. Peterson. Again, check him out on Sons of UCF.com. Brian W. Peterson, how are you, friend?
I am good. I'll be better once we get a win this week.
Let's talk about that. You two both seem pretty chipper, but when I last saw you on Saturday, not a lot of chipperness. UCF goes down to West Virginia. Mike, where are you at these days, friend? 5 straight losses. Obviously, a road game against Cincinnati. How you feeling these days? Are you positive? Are you negative? You checked out, checked in? Where are you at?
Positive. How can anybody be positive? The only thing I'm positive of is that we're going to give up about 300 yards on the ground. That's the only thing I'm positive about. The rest, I'm just here for fun, man. This is back to the days. I said it on Monday night. I just want to watch the games and relax. That's all I'm here for anymore. I don't have any faith.
Well, Brian, I know you don't relax easily. I know you're a pacer like I am. Where are you at? How you feeling now?
We got to get one eventually, right? Maybe this is the week where it happens.
Or maybe not. Brian, what do you want to see differently, right? I know we've seen 5 straight games, and there's some games we're in it, and then we make some mistakes. What do you want to see differently from UCF on Saturday? When you turn your TV on 3:30 and you're watching the game, is there something where you're going to be like, okay, I feel better about what I'm seeing right now?
If we cannot turn the ball over 4 times this week, that would be fantastic. Let's start with that.
Okay.
Putting some points on the board.
Okay. Mike, what about you? What do you want to see? What was positive for you?
I got a list of 5 things I'd rather do than watch the game. We'll save it for later. I don't care how we win, ugly win, whatever it is. Just have one more point than Cincinnati at the end of the day, and then I'll take it whichever way it comes.
Well, you guys sound frustrated, and somebody else that's frustrated is our head football coach, Gus Malzahn, who met the media this week and talked about his frustration.
Yeah, no, unbelievably frustrated right now. Like I said, I'm about as frustrated as I've ever been, and I've got to find a way to fix it. And we gotta do better this week. And so everything we have to do this week to try to come back with a victory. That's what's on my mind.
That's what's on his mind, Brian. He wants to come back with a victory.
You know, his press conferences have been getting a little bit more frustrated every week. You know, he's gone from super positive, we're going to win the conference, we're going to compete at the beginning of the season, preseason, to now he's showing his frustration like the rest of us are as we go into the Cincinnati week here. And I mean, I'd be frustrated if I was him too. I am frustrated watching these games on TV, watching them in the stands. It's frustrating to watch.
Mike, do you like hearing your head football coach is frustrated?
Yeah, I mean, he's a lot less frustrated sitting on top of $13 million or whatever it is. That's probably going to take a little sting off of it, I'm sure. But he can't be more frustrated than we are, man. And we've been bleeding with this team for the last 25 years, so it sucks. Everything about this season so far has sucked.
All right, we'll get back to the sucky season that is in just a few minutes, but a couple of future-related items came out this week, gentlemen. The schedule is out, so we now know UCF's opponents for the upcoming years. Obviously, we'll focus on some of those later on, but 2024 features some home slates, gentlemen: Colorado, Utah, Arizona. Mike, what was your impression of the released schedule, and what do you think of the 2024 schedule?
I'm happy with it. I like the schedule. I think we got some sexy matchups at home. Deion's coming back to Florida. Utah has been a top 10 team now for the last few years. It's a good program. Arizona is on its way back up too. So it's going to be a hard home schedule. On the road, look, we don't have to go to Lubbock. We don't have to go to some of these other towns that I've been avoiding the whole time. We got a trip to Tempe, Arizona, which is a nice little trip. I'm thinking that's the one I have circled on my calendar right now. I'd like to make that trip, maybe parlay it into a little Vegas couple nights over there too. So the schedule so far for next year looks great.
Brian, a lot of talk. There's no stated rival for UCF the way the schedule broke out. The Big 12 kind of broke up some rivalries. A lot of the Hateful Eight are really upset about that. UCF doesn't have a natural rival schedule-wise. Does that bother you? Are you good with that? Does that concern you? What are your thoughts on not having a rival?
No, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, we all know that Cincinnati is our quote-unquote Big 12 rival. I never really paid much attention to South Florida. Yeah, it was the war on I-4, and we played it up every year. But that not having a rival thing doesn't really bother me at all. We'll find a rival as this new Big 12 evolves, whether it's going to continue to be Cincinnati or if it's West Virginia or Arizona State or Colorado, the battle of the black and golds, or, it will find it. It'll naturally occur.
Well, if you do find it, you're going to be at the game, Brian. If you're there, you may be paying a little bit more money. And in a related note, as the schedule comes out, UCF also releases the ticket plans for the following season. I guess what I'm reading is nobody will have their tickets increased by more than $25. If I read that correctly, Mike, I know you're a longtime season ticket holder. Your thoughts on UCF coming after your wallet one more time for some more money?
Is that, you got to clarify, is that $25 total or $25 per game?
That's what the press release said. I haven't done the math yet on my tickets. I've seen some people posting that their tickets are going up, $400. Again, I don't know how real some of that stuff is, but UCF's press release said no one will see an increase greater than $25.
That's got to be per game, because $25, they're adding an extra home game next year. We have 7 home games next year. $25 for that extra game would be a bargain. I don't think that's the case. So, hey, it comes with the territory. We have a better schedule now. Expect the tickets to continue to go up because they're going to start making improvements to the stadium. That's going to raise ticket prices. You're getting better opponents now at home. We're not playing Temple and Tulsa every year. So, hey, you want to see Dion? You want to see?
I wish we were playing Temple and Tulsa.
Expect to pay up the big bucks, man.
Well, Brian, I don't know how much you were involved in this, Brian, but obviously in your role as a former student body president, can you take us to the inside of kind of what goes into a price, a ticket increase? Is that something that you were a part of as in your role, or what are the factors that kind of go into that?
Yeah, they like money. They need money to do things in the stadium, so they're going to find a way. The funny thing about the wording is that they said that the price of tickets wasn't going to go up more than $25. That doesn't mean that your required donation isn't going to go up by more than $25 or something to that effect. They'll find a way to squeeze it a little bit more.
Yeah, a lot of people really mad about the ticket stuff. But one person who does not have to worry about tickets and ticket prices is our guest this week, because he's firmly on the sidelines every week, which has got to be a pretty sweet gig. Our friend, Coach Paul Olsbury, back with us again for another week. Coach, are you okay with the season ticket prices being raised? Do you get any issue with you?
My son does, but I don't.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, look, you and I were talking off air with Brian, and you are a very positive person. That's not going to mesh well with some of the attitudes of Night Nation. What makes you so positive about this team? You come on week after week and you like what you're seeing. You think we're going to win, and then we don't. But you come back and you're positive. So what are you seeing that we're not seeing? What are you privy to that we don't know about here?
Well, I think we're improving. Every game I've seen some aspect of our game improve. This last game against West Virginia, we had our best third down percentage of the year. We did some really good things right up to the point where we made the big mistake at the end of the third quarter. And when John Rice got blindsided and fumbled, gave him a short field, they went up. We were in the game up until that point. And then we come back and go 3 and out. So I was frustrated at that point that we didn't execute in that period of time. But other than that, I see some positive things. We keep scoring. We have improved our tackling. We're not stopping the run the way we have to stop it yet, but I think I've seen improvement there too. So I see improvements in some aspects. I'm like you guys too. I'm frustrated about not winning. Our players and coaches are extremely frustrated about not winning. And in fact, Coach Malzahn addressed that today at practice. He told the players that if he was an alumni of UCF, he'd be frustrated too. He'd be mad too. And he's mad anyway because he's coaching them. But he wants and he's addressed this before, but he wants those players to understand how important it is to the alumni that they've put money and time and effort into UCF, and they want it to succeed. And when it doesn't, they're frustrated. So I like what I've heard. They're coaching the right way. As a coach, you have to be a corrector of mistakes, but you also have to be a teacher. So you have to try to balance that with some positive aspects if you can find them. And I've just found positive aspects in each game.
Coach, at what point in this season do we start just getting the younger guys some experience? I mean, do we wait until we're mathematically eliminated from a bowl and then just put them all out there at once?
No, I think you play the guys that earn the playing time. And that's why you practice. I think it's the right thing to do. I don't think you bench a guy if he's playing well just because he's older. So I just want to see us win, and I want to see us get to a bowl game, and I think we have a chance to do that. I think we're going to win this weekend. But no, I wouldn't bench guys just because of their age. You might get a chance to play a few younger guys a little bit more, but I'm not going to bench somebody if he's playing well because he's old. That if they did that, I'd be on the street.
Coach, we're on the back half of the season here. What do you say to these players to keep them motivated? That it's got to be repetitive, hearing the same thing week in and week out, and the coach is saying the same thing week in and week out. How can you keep things fresh for these guys?
Well, Brian, you go back to the individual things on every play, and you make those corrections on each play, and that's not always the same. And then you point out to them how we can be better and how we can make a change here and play a little better and make a win, make it a win. So I think you just have to keep stressing the fundamentals and be consistent in your coaching attitude and be consistent coaching. Don't let anything slide. It's a discipline thing too. You don't let anything slide. You keep coaching, you keep working, and the players will do the same thing if you do that as a coach. So I don't think it's the same every week because each week there are different corrections that you got to make. So you just keep making the corrections and keep working.
I know we've talked a ton, Coach, with you about the running defense and our inability to stop the run at times. I know we've had a couple of games. Oklahoma comes to mind where we seem like we got better. I know you've talked a lot about run fits and being in position, but yet week over week, we have the same problems. Are teams just doing something different every time that we're not adjusting to, or are these our own self-inflicted, we're not in position, we're not playing the right spots kind of wounds on our side?
I think it's a combination, Adam. I think we've made some mistakes in our fits. But I also think that the schools we've been losing to in the run game have been Power 5 schools longer. They've accumulated talent at a little different level that we have, and we have to try to make up for that. And I think we're trying. We've gotten better in our tackling overall, but we're going to be tested again with Cincinnati because they like to run it, and they're a very good run team. So we'll have to see, but hopefully, they've got issues too. Cincinnati does. They've lost 6 in a row. They haven't won a Big 12 game yet. So they have some of the similar problems that we have, and hopefully we can match up and win this one.
Coach, at what point, though, so if you have a player that's maybe not in position or not in the right fit and you correct it week after week, at what point do you say, okay, maybe I need somebody different, or the fact that we have the same sort of team coming in, does that mean that the guys behind him just aren't ready?
It could be. Each situation is different. You coach and you try to get them to do the best they can, and you play the best players you got. And sometimes you have to try somebody new and see if you're underestimating them. But you got to play the guys that are the best players, and you have to evaluate that. And that's not an easy thing to do. So sometimes you do try different combinations, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
I know coaches especially and players too are creatures of habit, but so far the last 5 games, things have not been working out. Do you change up the routine, whether during the week in practice or even on the road trip, taking the plane ride, what time you have dinner, something like that? You switch it up a little bit this week?
Yeah, Mike, I think you do make some minor changes. Overall, I think you keep a routine. You want consistency, okay? But I think you make some minor changes like you've talked about. Maybe have somebody address the team that hasn't in the past, or maybe make a small change like you said. The times of meals and things like that are pretty much set by game time, and you work backward from there to be optimal for digestion and all of those things. And same thing with meeting times and bed times and all of that. That kind of works back from the kickoff time. So there's not a lot you can change in that routine, but you can do some different things in your meetings and in your conversations with your players. Yes.
Coach, we're going to go see Emory Jones play this week. We have played him in the past. We saw him last one as a member of the Florida Gators football team in the Gasparilla Bowl. He is not the most accurate passer, not the most prolific passer, but he can hurt you with his legs. As a defense that struggled against the run, how does a dual threat quarterback like Emory Jones come into play if you're
I didn't hear the last part. You kind of cut out, but All I can say is this: he's a dangerous player, and a running quarterback creates even more stress on the run defense. So he's a good one, and hopefully his lack of consistency will continue and maybe help us. Maybe he'll make a mistake here and there that we can capitalize on.
Would you let him throw the ball?
I think I'd try to keep him from running it first. I'd challenge him to throw it. I think we have to stop the run. We talked about this a couple other times. We have to stop the run, and so I think you have to have somebody making sure that he's not running it too.
Coach Andy, our friend of ours, has a question for you here. When you feel undermatched, do you like adding aggressive blitzes and stunts, knowing it can leave you vulnerable?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the situation and who you're playing and what their strengths are too, and also in the situation and position of the field on the game during the game. So, yeah, that is one way of trying to take advantage of being outmanned, is to be aggressive with blitzes and so forth. Another way, sometimes against certain teams, is to just bend but not break, and try to keep the quarterback corralled if he's a big running quarterback or whatever the case might be. It just depends on who you're playing and the situation in the game as well.
Coach, do you believe in other coaches having your number? So we're playing against Cincinnati, but their coach, Scott Satterfield, has been at Louisville the last 2 seasons. Obviously, Louisville has played UCF, and they've beaten us both times. So I'm sure Scott Satterfield is pretty familiar with Gus Malzahn and the offense, even though I know Darren Hinshaw's here is new. Is there any credence to that, a coach knowing a coach or beating a coach a couple different times, maybe having his playbook or know what to do best?
I think it's more about the players than it is about the coaches. Believe me, we've studied. Our coaches have really studied Louisville from when Satterfield was there, from when we played them actually, and should have beaten them. And I think we could have beaten them both times we played them the last 2 times. But I think it's more about the players, and I think you have to know what they're doing, and they assume that they know what you're doing as far as in general, but it's about getting your players to execute. That's the key to it.
A lot of the fan base considers this a rivalry game. The Big 12 apparently does not consider it a rivalry game. We're not going to be playing these guys every year. With the schedule that just came out, do you like that? Do you like that they're switching things up? Or would you like to see maybe South Florida back on the schedule every year?
I don't care about South Florida one way or the other. Like Brian said, I think the Big 12 rivalries are going to take care of themselves. I think rivalries come down to having close games and having some wins and some losses in a hard-fought battle over a period of time. So we're the new kid on the block, along with 7 others, really. So I think it's going to be a while before the new rivalries and the new rivalries among the new schools in the Big 12 formulate themselves. You're going to have those rivalries that are already there, I think, and they've tried to protect them to some degree. But I'm kind of looking forward to seeing all these new teams and seeing how that plays out. I think there'll be some rivalries in the next 10 years that develop.
Coach, you've been at the practices, you've been on the sidelines. Week after week, we've seen JRP come out and play, but he's still wearing that large brace on his knee. Is he as mobile as you'd like to see him? What can you share about his status with us?
He looks to be as mobile as I've seen him. I don't really know anything more than that. I haven't talked to the trainers about him. I've talked to John, but I haven't really talked to him about that. So from what I see at practice, he appears to be 100%. And we just have to protect him in the passing game so he doesn't get those blindside sacks that causes fumbles. And then we have to do a good job running the ball, which will open up the play action. So I feel confident that he's ready to go and 100%. But I like what I've seen from Timmy too. Timmy McLean is a talented kid, and he's getting better and better. He just needs the consistency as well.
Is that brace? Do you think, is that preventative at this point, or is it still helping him heal in some way?
I think it's more preventative and just in case. I think, but I don't think it really slows him down much.
Coach, each week I watch the game and I walk away and I see a bunch of rushing yards for UCF, but I always ask myself, are we good on the offensive line? Like, I can't tell if our O-line's good. Obviously, we had a pretty unfortunate strip sack. I know Gus earlier had said that one of the other interceptions there, he had pressure in his face and kind of threw the ball up. You're somebody who's obviously very well versed in O-line play. Give us your assessment of our offensive line and how you think they're playing.
I think they're very good in the run game, particularly, but also in the passing game. We did make a mistake on the sack where he fumbled, and he had a guy in his face. But quarterbacks are going to have guys in their face. You just have to stand in there and throw it. But I think our offensive line is very good. I think I think I read we're 4th in the Big 12 in rushing, or 3rd, something like that. I think Cincinnati is 6th, and you don't get there without being pretty good in the offensive line. And I think we have good players at running back too. So, and when JRP is healthy, that helps our running game too, because he is a threat running the ball too. So I think we're good up front. We may not have a 1st-round draft pick among the offensive linemen, but I think we're a very good offensive line. And I'll tell you, our offensive line coach is a great one. He really is.
Coach, a little off topic here. We just switched the calendar over to November. My wife's trying to get me to put the Christmas decorations up already, and we haven't even got to Thanksgiving yet. What's your feeling on this? I don't see any mistletoes hanging around in the back there.
No, you won't. Bah humbug. But I'm going to see some of my kids up in Alabama on Thanksgiving, and when I come back here, I go over to my son's house and let him and his wife do all the decorating, so I don't have to take it down or put it up or any of that. So I get my fix at my kids' houses.
You got to figure it out, Coach.
I'm
still climbing in the attic.
Stress-free life is what I'm going for.
Coach, are we going bowling this year? We got to win 3 out of the next 4. Is it going to happen?
I think so. I think we will win 3 out of the next 4. I like what I've seen. The attitude on the football team, I think, is still positive, regardless of what's happened. But we are a 3-5 football team right now, and we are what we've shown so far. But we've got to play better, and I think if we do, we can win 3 of the last 4, maybe all 4.
All right, Coach, we'll get you.
Oklahoma State will be a challenge because they're really good.
Yeah, they can run the ball a ton. All right, Coach, we'll get you out here in this question. So when fans turn the game on Saturday, 3:30, and as you're watching the game, what's something that you're looking to see that's going to tell you that you feel good about how UCF's playing that day? What's something you want to see out of the gate? What's maybe a little change that you want to see?
What I do is I watch the offensive line and defensive line. And if we're getting a push on the offensive line, I like what I see. If we're getting a push from the defensive line, I like what I see. So I'm looking there to see who's winning the battle up front. The rest of it, to me, will take care of itself most of the time. But that's what I'm looking for. And I know that's not what everybody wants to look at, because it's hard not to follow the ball and to follow the big plays and all of that. But I'm looking for those 5 guys interior on the offensive line and seeing what kind of job they're doing.
All right, Coach, you're the best. Thanks again for hopping in this week. Hopefully we'll catch up with you soon. And I guess steer clear of the holiday decorations. Make sure you steer clear of that, all right?
I'll do that, and I appreciate what you guys do. Thank you very much for letting me be part of this.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
That's some solid life advice, Mike, by the way, is to not have to hang your decorations. I'm not going to lie to you. That's some solid life advice.
That spot for the last few years. It's the worst.
All right, so 3:30 Saturday, gentlemen. How are we feeling again? Coach feels pretty good about what we've got going on. Obviously, he's been in practice, seen some things, but we've also had some tough stretches. So, Mike, how you feeling Saturday right now? I know you've got your pool tracker picks, and I believe this week you picked against UCF with the spread, right? How you feeling about the game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a field goal game either way. I could see us winning. I could see us losing. The spread was 4.5. I don't know how we're favored against anybody, and on the road, even more so. So that's why I picked against us. But I wouldn't be surprised if we pulled one out. We're due, but so is Cincinnati. So I think this one can go either way.
Mr. Peterson, how you feeling?
Yeah, it can definitely go either way. Mike's not wrong about that. I mean, you got to stay positive. You got to assume that Vegas knows something that we don't, and if they assume we're going to win, then I'm going to have to stick with that. We're gonna bring home the W this week.
All right. I love a positive Brian David Peterson. Obviously, we're not the only game in town this week. There's a bunch going on in the Big 12. Luckily, we have Jeff Allen here to give us the Big 12 minute, which this week is actually 2 minutes long. Fun fact.
Well, if you think we didn't really know anything about the Big 12 Conference last week, we know even less about the race this week. The Kansas upset of Oklahoma created a 5-way tie for first in the conference. 3 games this week will have a significant impact on the race. We start off with one of the great rivalries in college sports as 2 of the leaders square off. It's bedlam between number 10 Oklahoma and Oklahoma State for what could be the last time in this epic series as the Sooners depart for the SEC, unless the schools do schedule out of conference. This has been a very lopsided series, with Oklahoma owning a 91-19 record with 7 ties. The Sooners have won 7 of the last 8, with the Cowboys last getting a win in 2021. Oklahoma has struggled in escaping UCF and the loss to the Jayhawks, while the Cowboys have come in hot, having won 4 in a row. Bedlam kicks off at 3:30 Saturday on ABC. 2 of the other 4-1 teams also match up this week as number 25 Kansas State visits number 7 Texas. The Wildcats have won 3 in a row, the Longhorns 2 straight. This is a big noon kickoff Saturday on Fox. 4-1 Iowa State hosts number 22 Kansas, which comes in at 3-2 and aiming to keep their conference title game hopes alive. You can catch this one Saturday night at 7 on ESPN. Other games on the schedule have TCU at Texas Thursday night at 7 on FS1. On Saturday, Houston travels to Baylor 3:30 on ESPN+. BYU visits West Virginia 7 o'clock on FS1. The Mountaineers 3-2 in conference, and win keeps them alive in the conference title game race. And how does UCF respond to last week's loss to West Virginia as they travel to Cincinnati? Both teams are still looking for that first Big 12 win, but as familiar foes in the American, it would feel a little hollow not getting it against a legacy Big 12 team. The Bearcats, in their first post-Luke Fickell season, are having a dreadful year. The Knights will capitalize on this, having a clearly better offense, and come away with a 10-point win. With your Big 12 Minute, I'm Jeff Allen.
Am I the other one? Does Jeff Allen remind you guys of, I don't know if you're old enough, we used to call and get the movie times? Right, and you had to listen to the guy tell you what time. Jeff Allen reminds me of the guy who gives you the movie times. No,
Mr. Movie Phone.
There you go.
You don't know if we're old enough. I'm the same age as you, dude.
I was really talking to Brian. I didn't want to insult. I knew you. I didn't want to insult. I didn't want to talk about Brian. One guy, the guy who's coming up next, I know is not as old as we are, but he's definitely much more intelligent about basketball than we are. He is former UCF development coach. His name is Ben Hazel, and Ben has been nice enough to hop in and join us. For those who aren't aware, UCF basketball tips off on Monday, and Ben's got a wealth of knowledge. First off, Ben, welcome to your first ever Sons of UCF live show. Hopefully, this is a crowning achievement in your career.
Oh, it's a huge step for me. I mean, you guys might not know this, but this ranks up there. This is up there for me. And I'm going back and telling everybody about it. So,
Well, we hope to have you on throughout the season, but let's get to know you really quickly. Tell us a little bit about your background. I know you spent some time at UCF, obviously, in the coaching ranks. You played ball at Princeton, which means you're much smarter than the three of us combined. So, give us a bit about your background.
Yeah. So, known Coach Dawkins for an extremely long time. Have a great relationship with him. One of his assistant coach, Kelvin Johnson. He coached me in middle and high school. Had the chance to really get the behind the scenes and work with the team over the past 2 years. I'm still not involved I'm not involved in the same capacity I was, but still working guys out from time to time. But played basketball at Princeton. Had the chance to play a little bit on the 3-on-3 tour. So if people aren't aware, the United States qualified for the 3-on-3 Olympic team. They have a Princeton guy by the name of Kareem Maddox on that team with Jimmer Fredette and Canyon Barry. So pay attention to that as that comes out. But had the chance to play with those guys and be a part of that a little bit a few years prior. But now I'm here. Happy to be a part of the media crew. We get to talk about these guys.
Always good to hear a Big 12 legend, Jimmer Fredette, mentioned on the show. Ben, all right, here, I'll start you with an easy one. Fill in the blank for me. As a UCF fan, you should feel blank about this upcoming basketball season.
Pure excitement. That would be the word. I'm excited. I just had the chance to go to the celebrity game, see some of the old UCF greats. Matt Williams, BJ Taylor made an appearance, Jermaine Taylor. So that was fun. But, there's a lot of buzz. There's a lot of excitement. Everybody knows, we got some big names coming to Orlando. So as a fan, there's nothing more you could want.
There's a lot of new faces on this team this year. Who are the guys that you think can make an impact right away?
The kid, Jalen Sellers, is the first guy that comes to my mind. Averaged about 13, 14 points at Ball State. From what I've seen in practice, he was hurt for a little bit, but, came back. I mean, and even before he was hurt, he's a playmaker. Another guy, this guy by the name of Chichi, he comes from New Mexico State. 6'7" wing, really athletic, can really shoot the ball. Is another guy that I'm excited to see, how he fits. And then probably a guy that he was around the team last year, had the red shirt, didn't have the chance to play. He'll come back around the holiday season, but Antoine Jones is another sleeper that I don't think many people are mentioning much. He spent a lot of time at Creighton, so he went to Creighton, he went to Memphis. He's been at a lot of stops, but his talent, his size, I think, is something, and just his attitude. He's a veteran guy. He's been around the block. I think will be another a piece that the fans will be happy with once they get to see him out there.
All right, Ben, I want you to put your UCF fan hat on here for a minute. This is the first year that we're going to be playing in the Big 12, a conference that's known for their basketball teams. UCF not exactly known for their illustrious history of basketball teams. What can you tell us as fans that should get us excited about what we should see out of the team this year?
Well, one thing that we know they're going to do, they're going to play extremely hard. And that's one thing that I noticed about just having such a veteran group. They understand the task at hand and they know how to prepare for it, and they're doing just that. I think probably as a fan, right? So I had the chance to go to the football game this past weekend.
Sorry to hear that.
I know, but I mean, hey, it was the atmosphere was crazy, but probably what stuck out to me, if anybody had the chance to go, was the West Virginia fans in the arena, right? Like they travel, and the same goes for basketball. So the one thing that I'll say is I was in that crowd. I was talking reckless to the fans. I was sitting right near the West Virginia guys. So I was over there. There was some lady. She was a little older. We got into it, and I was definitely letting her know, we can't wait till we come to Morgantown for basketball. Hopefully it comes through. But I was definitely talking like we're ready to play, and I think we will be. I think we're going to put up a fight. So we'll see. But, that's another thing that, it's just like what you always want. Like, hey, like if you guys can remember back when we played Michigan, right? Like it was a little banter back and forth between the crowd. Like the Michigan fans were in there and then we beat them. It's like that's the feeling we're going to have the opportunity to get a lot more this year. So I'm excited. Like I wasn't a big talker when I played, but now that I'm definitely just a pure fan, I'm gonna get it off this year.
Ben, one of the more intriguing names on the team this year, Ben, is Tyler Hendricks, a kid we did not get to see last year on the court. What can you tell us about his game? What is Tyler good at? What does he do well? What can we expect out of him?
He can shoot the ball. I mean, just like his brother. But I think the thing is that people get pretty surprised by is like just really how skilled he is. So like we'll have some days in practice where you're looking at him like, is anybody going to stop him? And everybody's looking at us like, we're trying, we just can't. So he has that ability, right? Like he has that skill, he has that talent. For him is just kind of piecing it all together. He'll get the opportunity this year. So one thing I think we can all expect him to do is make shots. That's one thing that he does. So, when he comes in, I think he'll be able to have a good impact because, when you don't get to play, he's going to be treated like a freshman. So, the scouting report is going to be clean. They'll be playing him pretty straight up, which I think will be something that, will help him out and be advantageous to us at the end of the day.
There's rumors circulating that we had a scrimmage against FAU, the team that was in the Final Four last year, and we beat them. So how does that bode for this season? Are we going to be good? Are we going to be a lot better than people are expecting?
So this right here is where I can almost even talk about my fan reaction and then my coach reaction, right? So my fan reaction is, oh, we're about to be in there. We're gonna be in the Big 12. We're ready for the Big 12. Let's bring the smoke. But then when I think back to it, it's a scrimmage. So, great sign. Like, hey, love that, the guys came ready to play and they stepped up to the challenge, and whoever was out there, they, took care of business. They were missing a few starters, but then also like scrimmages are really dependent on the coaches. And as you know, we have Charlie May's son on our team. So they have a great rapport, but you don't see how coaches or teams are going to play really in the game. I mean, as a freshman, I had the chance to play in a few scrimmages. I'm thinking I'm about to get some good minutes when the season started. Those first few games, it was a no-go. So, the scrimmages, they're good starting points, but they don't really tell you as much as you might think. I mean, we beat them last year. So you saw kind of different trajectories that we both went on by the end of the season. So,
sorry, Mike. Sorry, Mike. You're off.
I tried.
Ben, if you're going to an away game, which away game are you putting on your schedule to make the trip out for?
The away game that I really want to see. I mean, of course, Kansas is going to be top of the list for pretty much anybody. But one place for me, because I did play, so like the games are great, but I also would love for there to be a city experience with it. So I would pick Austin. Would go to Texas in their last year and hit 6th Street before and after the game. Whether it's a happy drink after or a sad drink, I'll pick one and go with that.
Last chance to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. All right, Ben, we'll get you out of here in this question. Who will be the team MVP this season? When it's all said and done, if we had to hand out an MVP for our team, who's going to win that for us?
That'll be tough to say, but I think the 3 competitors for that trophy for our team will be Darius Johnson, CJ Walker, and then the sleeper pick, Jalen Sellers from Ball State. I think those 3 guys will be our leaders, our category leaders, and who dominates most of the categories will be your MVP, of course.
Again, Ben, thanks so much for hopping in. Hopefully we'll get a chance to have you on throughout the season. Tip off on Monday at home against FIU after the women's game is over. So tune in, Ben. Are you going to be at the stadium? Are you going to be handing out autographs, meeting people? They're going to be like, hey, I saw you in the Suns UCF. Are you ready for all this?
I hope so, but I will definitely be there. Definitely going to be there, cheering the guys on. I'll be right behind the bench. It'll be a little weird. This will be my one of 2 games that I think I've gone to where I wasn't sitting right behind Coach Dawkins, but I think, I'll enjoy being able to have a few drinks and sit with a little bit better view. Those coaches are pretty big and they like to sit. The view's not that great.
Awesome, Ben. We appreciate it, man. Hope to catch up with you real soon. Okay.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Have a good one.
There's Ben. Who knows more about basketball? And there's Brian, really big screen. Wow. Who knows more about basketball than we'll ever know. So let's keep the football theme going, though. I'm just going to move everyone square around. Let's bring in our next guest. His name is Stephen Maurer. He is one of the hosts of the Viva La Cats Cincinnati podcast. And I was on the show with him this week. And I can tell you guys, he's as downtrodden as we are. So, Stephen, welcome to the show of people trying to figure out how to get our first Big 12 win.
Man, you guys were just talking about basketball. I'm like, all right, let's talk about basketball. That sounds good to me.
All right, let's start with this. What happened to Cincinnati? Last time we checked in with you, you guys had a good program, and all of a sudden now we're fighting for our first conference win ever. Take us to the last 6-8 months of Cincinnati football and how we got to where you are now.
Yeah, so a guy named Luke Fickle, pretty good. I think you guys are familiar with him.
Sure.
He ended up leaving for I don't know if it'll be greener pastures. We'll see. But he left for Wisconsin, and our administration decided to make a curious move and hire Scott Satterfield. Not exactly sure if it was more of the big money donors who wanted that because they wanted him back when Fickle was hired in 2016, or if that was more of Jimmy Sexton looking to try and find somebody to get his client out of town. So anyway, we have Scott Satterfield here, and as you can see, it's not going that great. Lost 21 players to the transfer portal. One of the shortest, people say they have deep wide receiver rooms. We have one of the shortest or not as deep wide receiver rooms in the country. Cornerback room is also just struggling this year. So, man, it's been a downturn. We thought maybe it wouldn't be so bad after game 2 against Pitt, beating them in their house. And Pitt is also fallen off incredibly hard this year. So we'll see, man. But you were telling me, Adam, on Tuesday night that Satterfield seems to have UCF's number. So I'm holding on to any sort of hope I can for Saturday.
How have you enjoyed so far the Emory Jones experience at quarterback?
Well, I saw our backup come into the game, and that was the most excited I got on Saturday night. So, it's at the point where we have two backups, and they're both of their first names are Brady. So the fun little conversation around the fan base this week is like, oh, is Brady going to get in the game? It doesn't matter which Brady. It's got to be a Brady to get in the game. So, he started off incredibly hot against Eastern Kentucky, and then Pitt wasn't so bad, but man, he must lead the country in completing like 18 passes, and he only completed 5 or 6 on Saturday night, but 18 passes for about 175 yards. Like it's not really much of a deep ball. We don't really have as much of a deep threat on the outside either. So let's say it's not going well.
Steve, I listened to the podcast this week just to hear Adam's interview with you guys, and I couldn't quite tell. At the start of the show, you were talking about how UCF is a rival, but it isn't rival. Tell us, I mean, are Cincinnati fans, is UCF a rival? Are we not a rival? How do we look at this game?
So I think we are. I think my co-host Justin is just very downtrodden, even more downtrodden than I am about this season. But I look at it like this, like either way, we're both 0-5, both need a win. I think a win against your rival makes the season. Obviously, there's that old adage of you can lose every other game, but as long as you win your rivalry game, and that's all that matters. And our social media account, they have taken to this as it is a rivalry. I think it is, guys. I mean, I was down there for the 2018 game. It seemed like the stadium was bumping. Obviously, College Game Day was there. Great atmosphere. Next year at Cincinnati, great atmosphere for that Friday night game as well. And we are the only two fan bases that seem to really continuously go at each other all the time on Twitter. I don't see why not. I mean, like, obviously there's no real close geographical ties for both of us in the Big 12. Why not? I mean, I see a couple people in the comments already giving me some crap, and I'm here for it. I've opened myself up to it, but man, I think it's a rival. What do you guys think?
Me, I don't know. Like the first couple of years we were in the American together, we didn't play either. And It was like it took a while, and it did build up there because we were the top 2 teams in the conference. But that was really the main reason, is because we were both good. Now we both stink. Let's see how passionate it remains this year and next year.
It's certainly a rivalry on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's more of just that competitive aspect of, like you said, we were both really good in our previous league, and now we are the adage from if you've ever watched Catch Me If You Can, where the 2 rats just trying to fight through the cream just to see which one comes out on top.
Steve, I don't know what your disposable income situation looks like, but if you have disposable income and there's a rushing yards total for Cincinnati, I would take the over this week because we've had a bit of a challenge stopping the run. Tell us a little bit about this Cincinnati running game. Who are some names to watch out for? How effective has the running game been this year for Cincinnati?
So the running game has been actually one of the bright spots for us this year.
Great.
I know. And our coach decided to call out his own running back room by saying that they did not have any explosive playmakers, which some of the running backs quote tweeted and were not very happy about. And they've responded. Miles Montgomery had a big game last week, had a 69-yard run for UC's first touchdown of the game. Corey Kiner, transfer from LSU, hometown kid. He's been really toting the rock for us pretty well. We did lose Ethan Wright this week to a season-long injury, but Corey Kiner and Miles Montgomery are the 2 guys that you need to watch out for if you're a UCF fan. And UC has been pretty good on the ground, I will say. They've had some pretty good games where they've outgained their opponents, and a lot of those yards, I talked about how Emory Jones was only averaging about 180 yards through the air. He has been a good rushing threat on the ground. They've got him in space to run the ball every now and then, and it's worked out for him so far. So those 3, I mean, we're not really doing anything else on the passing side of the ball, so we're going to try and run as much as we can, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, congratulations.
You guys have been known over the last few years as having a solid, tough defense. That's got to be the most frustrating part of this season. Is the last 4 or 5 games giving up over 30 points every week.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially because we have such good players on the defensive front, Jawan Briggs, Dante Corleone, Eric Phillips. There's a couple of dogs right there on that front line. And it's just the cornerbacks have not been able to keep up with some of these Big 12 talent and receivers. And that was one of the points of emphasis of the transfer portal, losing a bunch of those guys on the defensive side of the ball. I do like our defensive coordinator, Brian Brown. He had a good scheme at Louisville, brought in some good players. And if Cincinnati fans were to look toward the future and feel a little bit confident, a lot of Scott Satterfield's players played very well against, albeit an injured Riley Leonard at Duke this past Saturday. But he's still left a lot in the cupboard there, and obviously Jeff Brom has taken it forward. I think it's more of just that we aren't seeing it right away, and just to see that we still have a bunch of those guys that were recruited and were still in the Fickle system have not really been able to do much. It's not fun. I'll say that. I'm not used to giving up more than 30 points a game.
Steve, if you're Coach Satterfield and you're preparing for this game this week and you got UCF coming to town, what, if anything, and I stress if anything, scares you about this UCF team that's coming in to play on Saturday?
Well, we just talked about UC's lack of defensive ability to keep opponents under 30 points. And look, John Rice Plumlee, he's had his fair share of problems this year, but if he can pass the ball more than 15 yards down the field, then there's going to be at least some separation there for those wide receivers. Our cornerback room is really not very good. It's one of the bottom 10 in the nation, unfortunate to say. And we are really just trying to get to you as fast as we can before the ball gets out and gets to the cornerbacks. Jaden Higgins had a breakout game for Iowa State against UC, averaged about 30 yards a catch, 6 catches, 180 yards. He broke out during that game. And Baylor looked like a competent passing offense against this UC defense. So I think if you're a UCF fan, you've got to look at and say, our passing game needs to be a lot better this week. And I just hope that the running game can be stopped a little bit.
Are we looking at a shootout?
So, Adam, you were asking me earlier about disposable income. There is a little bit of disposable income on the over this week because life's too short to bet the under one. And two, I'm trying to have some fun and watch these games. The over had the best backdoor cover last weekend, a couple late touchdowns by both Cincinnati and Oklahoma State. So by no means am I giving out advice, but the over may be in play here.
All right, Steve, now that he's gone, can we finally admit that Fickle having team on the back of his shirt was just stupid?
Yes, so stupid. That was the first tweet that I laughed at that first day when he left. Is one of our guys, Doug, said, I'm so glad that I don't have to act like team was a cool moniker. And so I don't know, he's not wearing it on the back of his hoodie or on his visor at all, but our new team mantra is eat, effort, attitude, and toughness. It has not really gotten around as much as team, but I kind of like eat a little bit better. I mean, I'm an eater myself, so, and I kind of think that's more fun than having team, but it was so stupid. I'm so glad that we don't have to worry about that anymore.
All right, prediction time comes down to it. You're betting the over, but what do you think the final score is going to be? Who's winning?
Well, I can't come on the UCF show as a Cincinnati fan and say you guys are going to win. I did predict a 34-31 UC victory on Tuesday. I'm not confident in that at all. I don't think there's been anything to this point that really makes you think, especially with how the play has kind of deteriorated since Big 12 play has started, that makes you think that UC can really come out, other than maybe that we're wearing entirely too large decals with the USS Cincinnati seal on the side of our helmets. Maybe that'll inspire us, but I do think that it's a rivalry. These guys know each other. Both teams probably understand that this is likely their best chance at a Big 12 win this season. And Cincinnati at home, I do feel good about just being able to have that home crowd, however many people show up. So I'll say 34-31, a late field goal that does not get blocked by Miami of Ohio. So
loser goes back to the AAC. How's that?
Please don't make me go back to Temple, Tulane, South Florida. I'm Memphis too. I'm so glad. Can we agree on this, y'all? I'm so glad that we never have to visit any of those schools ever again. Never have to talk to any of those fan bases ever
That's
again.
fair. That's fair. East Carolina can get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
We still have to deal with South Florida fans.
Well, that's true. Yeah, and I'm sorry for you guys. I mean, their numbers are dwindling by the day, but we'll see.
What kind of crowd are you guys expecting on Saturday?
So I did actually look at tickets just because I was interested, and we are inducting one of our linebackers from the late 90s, early 2000s, Antoine Peak, on Saturday. His son is actually on the team. So they're running a ticket deal. You guys can make fun of it, 2 for 56 because his number is 56, so 1 for 28. But not many seats available for the weekend. I mean, we'll see what it's like on Saturday when people are showing up. But I do feel like, at least because of the familiarity with you guys, understanding, there is a little bit of a common opponent there, I do think that it should be a good crowd. And credit to UCF fans, man. You guys have showed up the last few times at Nippert, and I'm expecting nonetheless from you guys. So looking forward to seeing what it's like on Saturday.
Yeah, we will have some fans there. I know that there are some folks that are traveling, so I don't know how many, but we'll have some.
All right, Steve, tell us more about Viva La Cats. You and Justin do a great job. Where can people find you? What do you guys do? Give us the lowdown on Viva La Cats.
Yeah, so we are at Viva La Cats Pod on Twitter. I'm not going to call it X because that's our main basketball rival in the city of Cincinnati. So you won't ever hear me calling it that. It's still Twitter to me, but Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever you find social media and podcasts, we are there covering the Bearcats once a week in our regular feed. And then every Saturday we cover the game on our Twitter spaces. So if you guys feel like coming in and saying what's up and letting us know how much we suck on Saturday, we would love to have you. More than welcome to request to speak in the spaces. Everybody's welcome. Trying to have a welcoming atmosphere for our friends in the Big 12 and our enemies in Central Florida. So, but 2 times a week, looking to ramp up more as well with basketball coming in town starting next week. Hopefully we'll have more Big 12 wins by the middle point of the season in basketball than we will in football.
Yeah, we're trying to do the same thing around here. Steve, thanks for hopping in, and we'll check out your space on Saturday. Look out for a guy named JP Gilbert in your space, okay?
Oh, I'm ready. I already saw him. I'm ready to go. Love the snack talk, guys.
Thanks, Steve. Take care. At least they're as down as we are. Moving squares.
Until Saturday. If they beat us,
I'll be more willing to join their spaces depending on how the game goes on Saturday.
I'm not allowed to join the spaces. So,
My mic has been banned from Twitter and X. All right, let's do a quick around the kingdom, then we'll get to some questions. Women's soccer loses in the semis. They are now a bubble team, according to Eric Lopez, to make the tournament, which will come out on Monday. Men's soccer, 2-1 loss to James Madison, which somehow makes them the 2nd seed in the tournament. I don't get that, but we're hosting South Carolina Sunday at 7 p.m. Volleyball split with TCU going to Houston. That should be a tough match this weekend. And comment from both of you, UCF and Nike back together through 2029. Brian's pumping his fist. I assume Mike does not care.
Uniform nerds rejoice. All right.
Yes.
As I expected. This one's always awkward whenever Brian's on the show because I don't know what to do with it, but what are you going to do?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
It is that time again. And as a new tradition, Mike, I don't know if you've known this, a new tradition. We've been playing music underneath the mailbag recently. So this is the show mailbag theme song here. Gotta wait for it to kick in. Our official mailbag theme song. All right, let's get at these mailbags. I gotta read these things. Trace usually does this, so best of luck to me. This one comes from at There's 2 words. If our first Big 12 win were to come against Cincinnati, can we really consider that a Big 12 win, Mike?
No, and they shouldn't consider it a win if they beat us either. This is not a Big 12 win in the record books. I don't care what it says in the standings. Now, if Cincinnati had 1 or 2 wins already in the conference, then maybe I could think about it. But since we both are winless, this is an AAC matchup.
Brian?
Listen, I'll take what I can get at this point. Let's count it as a win.
All right, GoldenEye _2 wants to know how about Houston? If UCF beats Houston, is that going to be a Big 12 conference win, Brian?
No, Houston's terrible.
Mike?
Well, going by what I just said, I have to count it. They at least beat West Virginia. They have another Big 12 win against an old Big 12 school. So that's a better win than this week, actually.
That makes perfect sense. This one's from @Grillin24Q, who very, very passionate on Twitter. Brian, I think you guys have had some conversation before. His question, I think, is, Gus is clearly at a loss right now. What did a former SEC coach possibly misjudge in a 3-year program? Something he missed based on all of his media day comments, leading guys to think that we were going to have a good team. Is Gus full of it, or are his best days behind him? Like, Gus full of it or best days behind him? You decide.
I think he actually thought this team was going to be good. And I think a lot of us, I thought we were going to be good too. And even after the first few weeks, I thought we were going to be good. But you know what's happened? He's had his quarterback injured every year he's been here. You got to give him a little something about that for that. But the transfer portal guys have not hit. So I think that's been his biggest problem.
Brian from @TheRealTCG3. Why not just say F it and let Timmy play so the Sharps can hit some overs?
I really have no problem letting some of the younger guys get in there and get some reps at this point. I don't think Gus is going to do that. He's going to stick with JRP. He's going to let his guy play until we absolutely can't get any more wins. But I'm okay with that. Let's get some younger reps in there.
Mike @RileyCarry16. Do we not have a rotation system instead of leaving the same guys on defense for a long time?
I don't think we have enough guys that we trust to add the depth on the defense. We got a couple of them. John Walker is able to get in there. I just don't think there's enough of those guys that they feel are ready to play right now.
Brian, this one's from Armored_up. If you could pick any of the guys who did not come to UCF during the recruiting cycle to come back to UCF in the portal, who would it be? He is lobbying for Arkansas QB Malachi Singleton.
Singleton would be a great addition. Arkansas just fired, was it their offensive coordinator?
Yeah,
it was their offensive coordinator. So maybe the guy's looking to make a change. He's got these inroads with UCF. Let's go get him. I'm all for it.
Mike, just because I think this will be fun, who's the recruit that you want UCF to get from the portal?
The guy that we should have got, what's been missing this season was that big Phoenix energy. We needed that big Phoenix energy this year, and it didn't work out. So that's going to be the thing. It's going to be quarterback, whoever it is.
I think it's out of eligibility. @UCF Guy 23, does knowing that UCF has up to this point the 6th toughest schedule in the country make you feel better, a little better, or not better at all, Mike?
Not better at all. I don't care what the schedule, toughness of schedule, all that stuff doesn't make me feel better. You know what makes me feel better? It was just winning a damn game. The Baylor game we could have had, the Oklahoma game. Win those games. Win 2 of those games. I definitely feel a lot better than I do right now.
I'm not gonna lie to you. When you said, what makes me feel better, I was concerned what was going to come out of your mouth next there. Brian @UCF Guy 23. Will basketball win more conference games than football this year?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Mike @SportsChemist1. UCF men's basketball beat FAU in a scrimmage. Does it mean something? Ben Hazel says no. What about UCF Mike's personal record book?
We're talking about practice. Right? We're talking about practice. It doesn't mean anything. I agree with what Ben said. The season starts on Monday, and let's see if we beat FIU. Start this season off better than we did last year when we lost to UNC Asheville or whoever the hell that team was at the beginning of the year.
You're still on that UNC Asheville thing.
Yeah, that was a bad loss, man. Overtime, we had the
tournament team. All right, this was @always UCF night, and this is a question and a complaint, I think, all in one. Is anyone else annoyed they now ask you for tips on credit card machine at the concession stand at the stadium? I mean, you wait in line standing in the sun, and then they hand you a drink over the counter. UCF's trying to guilt tip people into make more money. Mike, are you on board with this? I don't want to tip from @always UCF night.
No, as somebody that has spent time in the service industry, those people are not.
God, I hope you
a lot of money from UCF. Okay, UCF is not making that tip money. Those people are out there working for like $3 an hour. I tip now. I do tip nowadays at the stadium.
Nowadays, okay. Brian, do you have any complaints with the tipping philosophy?
I worked in the service industry and I never got any tips. So take that for what it is.
It's probably more about you, Mike. Did you close your tab at Burger U?
Did you close your tab?
All right, last one from Emptiness 4. Halloween theme. What candies would represent members of the UCF coaching staff? Mike, what candies represent members of the UCF coaching staff?
I've got Starburst or Starbusts, maybe for the offense. Okay. Jason Hinshaw, right? I've never heard of this before, but I Googled some candies. Circus peanuts for the defense. Addison Williams, because that the whole defense is a circus right now. And then you got Smarties for Gus Malzahn, because always trying to outsmart himself a little bit with those 2-point conversions and trick plays.
For a second there, I was really hoping you said circle peanuts. Brian, what are your candy options?
I guess I have to go with Tootsie Roll. I mean, you either love Tootsie Rolls or you hate them. I mean, it's not my favorite. I don't like Tootsie Rolls, but Dots. I don't know. Almond Joy.
The whole coaching staff's at Tootsie Roll. Is that what we're doing there?
Oh, yeah. You're either in or you're out.
It's not uncommon. Mike, earlier you mentioned you had a top 5 list of things you'd rather be doing than watching the game. I don't want to. This is content gold. I don't want to lose this, so we're a little over on time, but I need it. You
don't want to save it for Monday? Is that what you're saying?
I just said it out loud, so yeah, I can't take this back. This is live, so
this is inspired by you. You get to miss part of this game this week if you want, because you're going to a
possibility.
Wedding.
Yeah, early morning wedding, 10 a.m. wedding. Brian Peterson, fair or foul?
Foul.
Yeah.
Hey,
they're trying to do you a favor because it's in the fall, right?
That's fair.
I'd rather do that and have with a little open bar than have to watch this defense. That's why it's one of the top 5 things I'd rather be doing this Saturday. Number 4, that's 5. Number 4, and if you looked around this studio right here, I got to clean out this garage, and I may start doing that on Saturday. And if it takes me through the first quarter, I'll just get in here and work the whole way through, and then go check on the score or something, because I don't have to watch this thing. Number 3, dentist. I'd rather go to the dentist. Normally I do my cleanings on Saturday mornings. I'm going to try to call and see if they schedule me for like 3:30, and this way I can miss the first half of this game. Number 2, I'm getting to that age now. I get a colonoscopy. I'd rather have that done than watch this. And number 1, go visit the in-laws. Let's see what those guys are up to. I haven't seen them in a couple of weeks. I'd rather go over there, hang out there, and instead of watching us lose to Cincinnati and go 0-6 in this conference.
Wow. Brian, any thoughts on Mike's list?
I'll throw one in there. I'd rather get burned by JP Gilbert on Twitter.
Well, that hasn't happened before?
Probably. I probably blocked it out of my memory. I'll probably get burned for that.
You don't think I'm going to put your comments on the screen, Brian?
Yeah, well, my wife does. She loves Tootsie Rolls.
You know, those are going on.
Matt was asking.
You know what? Those are going on the screen, as is the game 3:30 Saturday again. Make sure you tuned in. Hopefully the Knights pull one out, although I don't think we're all that optimistic. Obviously, for my good friend UCF Mike and for Brian W. Peterson, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. We'll be back with more Sons of UCF fiascos at some other point in our lives. But until then, everybody, go Knights.
Charge on.
There we go.